Welcome to another episode of the Jimmy Rex Show. I'm here with my close friend Haysam, and it's just a pleasure to be here, man. I'm here in your car dealership, 24 Motors, and I think when I look back on my life, you see those people that you just like, how did we become close friends? But you do, and it's just one of the beauty and joys of life is to be able to have friendships and friends like you in your life. And so I don't just say that joking or just in jest, but you truly are one of the best humans I've met. And it's the reason I wanted to do a podcast like this where I can highlight people like you that, you've run a very successful car dealership, but to be able to tell your story, you have an amazing story, and you've been able to do some amazing things because of who you are. So that's why I'm excited to have you here on the podcast today.
Thanks, Jim. I'm excited to be with you too, brother.
Well, you have such a fascinating past. I can't wait. We're actually going to Egypt in February next year. And you were born there, born and raised in Egypt. Tell us a little bit about that. As a kid, what is Haysam like? Tell us about growing up in Egypt. I think here in the U.S. where there's a fascination with all that, but give us a little idea of what that was like.
I was born and raised in Egypt to an Egyptian mom. My dad was Palestinian. Now looking back at it, I can see why it's fascinating. I see what's going on, what's the difference. I was literally lived 20 minutes walk from the pyramids. I can see them from my bedroom window anytime I want. It's a beautiful place. My father worked in tourism for his entire life. So I was exposed to all the tourists, Americans, Japanese, German. We had a lot of contract with American companies.
People coming in to see the pyramids?
Oh yeah, my dad was able to arrange for tours, whether it's in the pyramids or was in Luxor, or he had a very successful business running a tourism company. And all that was great. All that was great until 1991, the Desert Storm, and that took a nosedive in tourism. And I learned a lot from my father. He was a very resilient man, very hardworking. We hardly have seen him because he would leave at 4 or 5 in the morning and come back at 7, 8 at night, and just to be able to provide for his family and all his employees. And he really, when you want to talk about somebody fascinating, I don't think I am when you know more about my father.
What were some of the traits that you picked up from your father besides just the hard work? What are some of the things you learned?
Besides the work ethic is the love for the people you work with. Finding the joy in the smallest times in the day when you're so busy, meeting people and being able to read them, and how can you tell somebody is a good friend? When I met you and how you on the ball you were. We always, whenever he met somebody that did business the way he did, that was somebody we continued knowing forever as family. Their family and our family become good friends. Surround yourself with successful people. Surround yourself with people of the same caliber or higher caliber. And don't you ever be jealous of that. You walk in a higher caliber and mingle with them and see how can you upgrade yourself in life. Don't ever be impressed by big things, shiny things, expensive things that only put you down.
So, what do you mean by that?
You walk. You see with the celebrities, a lot of people see celebrity and they cry and like, hey, what's up? I want to be with you and all that stuff. Where he taught us to not be impressed. It doesn't matter who it is. You're human. He's human, and as long as we're in tune, we can be friends. And if not, we're not.
Yeah, when you and I were talking one time about the rules of being a man.
Yes, on that trip back in St. George.
Yes, and one of the rules to being a man was don't ever ask another man for his autograph. Your kids are watching.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
I think about that all the time, and
absolutely,
it's I do enjoy being around successful people, or call it celebrity or whatever else, because you learn so much, and their life is very unique and kind of fascinating.
Absolutely,
but I think it's important. You'll never see me ever in a million years try to get somebody else's autograph or ask for something from them. Right. I think if I can share my relationship with them, with other people, where it can benefit somebody else's life, I want to do that. But it's like you said, they are just people. And the more you understand that, the more you actually get opportunity to be around more people like that, because they know they can trust you to just treat them like another person.
Like a good human being.
Had you been to the States before?
I've never been to the States before, but my background story is a little different than most Egyptians. I'm half Egyptian. My mom is Egyptian, my dad is Palestinian. Even though I went to Palestine or Gaza or Israel one time in 1985 for 10 days just to visit family that I've only visited once. The law in Egypt said that if your dad is not Egyptian, you're not Egyptian, even if you were born there and your mother is Egyptian. So I was Palestinian, which made me a refugee in Egypt. So I never had the Egyptian citizenship. Therefore, I was not allowed to go to public schools. That was only to Egyptians. I was not allowed to go to public colleges. That was only for Egyptians. And at the time, and we had to pay for our stay every year. It's like having a green card or having a visa with payments. We had to pay every year to stay in the country, even though we were born there. And if we end up not paying, we get deported.
Wow, where would they deport you to? Where were you
This
essentially from?
This is the big trick. In Israel, because it has control over the borders, I'm not a Palestinian. To them, I'm not, because I was not born there. So that their rules are, I have to be born there to be Palestinian. So they would deport me, but they wouldn't let me in, and they would kick me back. And there was, at the time, a camp on the border, just tents with fences that my father would take us up to help those people that stuck there, having food and clothing, and that's where they stay for the rest of their life.
That's where you probably would have ended up had you not paid the tax, essentially, to stay in.
Correct. And that's actually where one of my really good friends, I still remember his name, we went to school together, ended up after his dad passed away and he could not pay. Thank goodness that all dissolved. So around 2013, they changed the laws, and if you were born in Egypt or your mother is Egyptian, you're automatically now Egyptian. So that agony is gone for most of the refugees, Palestinian refugees.
So what disadvantages did you have growing up? Were you looked down upon then because of that?
No, apparently, to be honest, every coin has two sides. And my side of the story in that coin, I had no disadvantages. It was all complete advantages. Because I was not Egyptian, I was not allowed to go to public school. So I had to go to private schools, which meant I learned English early.
So you actually got a better education.
I had a much better education than I would have if I was going to public school. So that was one of the biggest things. The other thing was, as not being not a citizen of the country, I had a refugee passport. I did not have an Egyptian passport. And apparently this is one of the reasons why, the United States gave me a visa. Because I did not walk in with an Egyptian passport or a Palestinian passport or Israeli passport. I had a refugee passport. I still have that passport at home, if you want to see it. It's a very funny picture. I was so young. But so that's how I received my visa. And besides that, and that's how I got a job in a U.S. oil company. I spoke English, I had command of computers. But when it came to colleges at my age, there was not a private college. So we had to go to public college, but pay like out-of-state fee.
Got it.
Got a refugee fee. So my education cost a lot of money. My college education, my first year was 10,000 British pounds, where every Egyptian paid $1.
Oh wow!
So it was really expensive.
So tell me more about that. So you remember that very vaguely when you kind of found out that you weren't actually a citizen of Egypt?
I knew I wasn't a citizen of Egypt, but I never felt any different. I mean, I was born there, raised there, my mother's there, all my aunts and uncles are Egyptian. I never felt any different. I knew going to private schools instead of public because I'm not Egyptian, but I was never treated any differently till one time. It was in Giza. I was right in front of the city building. I went there for some work with one of my friends, and they asked for my ID going in, and I said, "Here's my ID." And their IDs there mentions your name, mentions your religion, and mentions your nationality. So the second they read I'm Palestinian, that was the very first time I was treated differently by authority. And then that was the very first moment in my life. I remember exactly the spot. I remember the shape of the brick because I looked down feeling so looked down upon. I remember that location, I remember that feeling, and that's the first time in my life I ever felt like I don't belong in Egypt, even though I loved it and I still love it, and there's plenty of blessings I received living in that country. So I will never say that was not a good country to me. It was an amazing country. I had an amazing life, but that was the very first moment in my life I felt like I don't belong, and that is the same moment I decided that I never need to feel like I belong to anything. I don't need to belong. I don't need to belong to a religion. I don't need to belong to a country. I don't need to belong. I don't need that. I can have a lot of amazing people around me from different places that will make my life complete. I don't need to be complete because of a country. I don't need to be complete because of a religion. So that is the moment where but life changed for me. I mean, I was maybe 16. I'll take you to that spot. I'll take you to that brick when we go to Egypt. I'll take you to that exact spot.
What a powerful moment to realize at that young age too, though, that you know what, everything that, and this is one thing I know about you, you've talked about your love for America and things like that, because it is the land of opportunity in the sense that you don't need to rely upon other people. You don't need to rely upon the government. You don't need to rely upon anything other than your own self, your own ability to go out and create.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. Once you have that power in you, once you have that power that you can do it by yourself, once you have that power that you determined to make something out of nothing, you'll find a way. And in the process, you'll gain a lot of amazing people because they'll see that. I mean, I see that in people these days, and I cannot be any more proud. I try to bring them close to me. I try to bring them in my team. Anybody that I see their potential, they have the potential, they have the power, they just need a little guidance, because I have received a lot of guidance. And for me to receive, I have to give. So I do my best. I do my best with the people that need it. And I do sponge and receive all the information I can from you, from Jeff, from Alan, from anybody around me that I know that is a successful person that has a good heart and that was willing to give. That's important.
So how did you decide, once you moved to Utah, when did you open your own car dealership? Because that's what you do now. You've got a very successful car dealership. You're in Orem, 24 Motors. Lead us to what got you into the car dealership business.
When I started that company that I worked with that was nationwide, it was a car company.
Okay.
It was a rental company that had a car sales division. At the time I was in rental. There's an opening position in the car sales in Utah. I moved here, and that's when I discovered, like, well, I love cars. I mean, I knew I love cars, but I discovered I'm good at it. I love people. I get to meet a lot of them all the time. I love seeing personalities and going through them and making new friends, and that was a beautiful place to be. From there, after being there for so long, again, the same story when I first moved to the States. I'm like, oh, there could be a lot be done if I had more freedom, because the corporate restrictions were too many. If you can combine the corporate structure and the freedom of making your own decisions without having to follow some rules that will not make sense financially, or the corporation is so strict on it, but you can expand your business and you don't have to be stuck to selling one brand or one make or model, it can be different. So I actually went and I put in my notice and worked for an independent company for about a year to learn how about the independent sides. And after that, I partnered with two guys, and we opened a dealership that was very successful. They owned it before I joined them, and we all made it very successful. And we did that for a few years, and after that, we decided to go, each sell our own ways, and it worked out great. I had my second dealership, and that only lasted me 7 months before I was made an amazing offer to buy the dealership on the land, and I of course took it. And then I started 24 Motors, and since this one is all mine, I had to, pick the name myself.
So how did you come up with 24 Motors?
24 has been an amazing number in my life. It really has been. It's when I went to get my visa, it was when I went to get my visa, it was the first letter of the visa was on the 24th. The appointment was not, but the letter was. When I flew to the States, it was on the 24th. When I moved to Utah, in the 24th. When I sold my share of the business, and we went to close it with the state, and this is something I only discovered just last week when I was going through the documents, it was on the 24th. But what makes it even more interesting, that was stamped by the state on 3/24. 3/24 is my birthday. When I got my 5 million number, it's a random number for the new dealership, it ended with 3/24. And I mean, there's so many things. Of course, there's Jack Bauer, 24. That was one of my favorite shows. So there's so many other things. I mean, I won't bore you with how many coincidences in my life.
So the 24 Motors, I didn't know it had that significance. That's cool.
It's been an amazing number in my life, and it worked. We walk into JFK on the 24th. That by itself makes it. But then, I mean, all the other things in my life were amazing.
Was it more culturally shocking going from Egypt to New York, or from New York to Utah?
From New York to Utah.
Really?
For sure, yes. Yeah. Because going to Egypt, from Egypt to New York, even though I was ready and I was immersed in the culture, but I was also with the tourists all the time. So we always had conversation. I knew what it is. I'm watching the movies and talking to people, keeping in contact with them. And New York was an eye opener. I mean, New York was beautiful. And it's my favorite place in the U.S. But then moving from New York to Utah, it was like interesting. It's beautifully interesting. I mean, the place is amazing. I fell in love with the mountains, the lakes, all the national parks. I mean, that is an amazing thing. We went hiked Zion's National Park, and thanks to you, I hiked my biggest hike in one day, and almost got me.
We went to Observation Point. That was a real hike.
That was a real hike. It was a real hike. My heartbeat was 170 something the whole time. It was amazing.
No, you did good.
Well, I'd rather be pulled down on the stretcher than not finish. It's.
Yeah, you weren't quitting, that's for sure.
So, but yeah, it was pretty good. But that's what we're trying from.
Well, you have an interesting coincidence with New York. Tell us about Chip. You had a story. Chip is a guy that you met here at the dealership.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about who that is and why he's been so important for your life.
He's been so important in my life because he's been a true brother.
And to give us his background.
Yeah, well, he...
and you didn't know this when you met him, but...
No, I didn't know when I met him. He came into the dealership because one of my tenants here was renting RVs, and he was renting an RV from them. And he walked in and looked at my motorcycle. He's a car motorcycle enthusiast. He knows a lot about them. And he saw the motorcycle and said, whose it is? It was mine. And we talked about it, and we clicked right off the bat. And I asked him, why you're here? And he goes, I'm just here because I want to be with my kids as I spent some time in prison, and I want to be able to be with them. And of course I get intrigued. I'm like, well, tell me more. And he told me the story about it. And from there, he convinced me to go see the Eclipse. That was
the solar eclipse last year.
That was only last year. And I didn't want to go because I didn't want to deal with the traffic. I had so much going on. The business just opened. My tenant were about to leave. I mean, I had so much going on.
This is the first time you met him. He's just trying to convince you to go see the eclipse.
And I did. I called my wife. I'm like, hey, we're going to see the eclipse. And she flipped. I'm like, how is it? Who convinced you? Because she's been trying to look for 3 months. Her family lives in Idaho Falls, right under the eclipse, like the total eclipse. She's like, we have to do it. And I said, no, I can't. I have so much going on. And he comes in like, you can't miss it. You just can't miss it. I've been into the last one in Aruba. It was amazing. And all the things he told me about it made me want to go see it. You know, I've not ever seen one. And we went up there, and in the way up, we were able to, my wife and I were just driving, and we noticed a lady in a car with a sign, and we were able to save her life. And when I came back...
The sign was a call for help.
The sign was a call for help, and she needed help, and we were able to help her and call the authorities, and, able to save her life and her kid's life.
You said, I know you can't tell all the details of the story, but there was somebody in the vehicle.
Somebody else in the vehicle.
That she was trying to get rescued from.
Yes, somebody else in the vehicle that forced him into it, and he was taking him into Yellowstone just for one reason or another.
To throw him in a geyser.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know all the information until later because I couldn't stop and be with the authorities, see what's going on. But I volunteer with the city police here, and that's how I was able to understand what's going on and what type of sign she had on, and how to alert the authority, and how to stay with the car. And it was an honesty. I mean, it was a great adventure. It was good. It was good. But when I came back from the eclipse, which was amazing, it was amazing. I come here and Chip comes back, and how was it? Like, it was amazing, but that's not the most amazing part. We saved somebody's life. And like, how? And I explained him the story, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't go there. And if it wasn't for Lexi and I being in the car, and she was able to confirm what I'd seen, it was tired, it was almost midnight, and since then we hit it off and became a really good friend. He's a brother. He's an absolute brother to me. He's an amazing. I'm going to see him in 4 days.
So give us more of his background, though. Like you said, he went to prison, but you didn't really tell the story of anything about who he was. Because that was, to me, it was such a cool story. The fact that he just randomly came into your dealership, he convinces you to go see the eclipse. You end up saving this woman in her children's life. and then you come and tell him the story, and I mean that wasn't a coincidence, right?
I mean, and this is one of the things that I believe that it was divine intervention for sure. God has sent us that. He sent us to. I mean, it was absolutely not a coincidence.
I love that story about you and Chip because it really shows how in tune you are. And just as a person, I think I've learned so many business things from you, and just relationship-wise, I really do appreciate how you go about living your life in that way. So for people that are maybe starting out a business, or people, you've now been a successful business owner for several years, what are some of those business things that you've learned, or some of those things that you can help people implement into their own lives to help people get these genuine friendships like you have now with people like me and people like Chip?
Some of the most important thing I learned, you can work hard and make money, but you can always make more money. You cannot make more people. If you're genuine,
technically you can make more people.
Technically you can, but good people in your life.
Yes, yes.
So being genuine and being honest and being good to the people that you meet, and have integrity in your dealing with them, even if they don't benefit you financially, is one of the most important things. Seeing people for who they really are. It's you cannot. I mean, you can make a lot of friends, but for me, like one of our family friends we always talk about it. I'd rather have my 4 dimes than have 100 pennies. So if I'm going to have 4 or 5 people in my life, they better count. But that's better than have 100 of them that they don't mean a lot to me. So that's one of the important things. That's why I know you. I know Travis. I know Chip. I knew Alan, and there are quite a few people in my life that I consider my quarters. And those are the ones that I love having in my life. But if you're starting a business and you really care about it, you cannot only care about your margin, because you'll achieve that as you're genuine with your customers, as you're genuine with your friends, as you have a good reputation to keep. The snowball effect will start. It may start slowly at the beginning, but once you get going at it and you become good at it, it all adds up. It all adds up. I believe you can do anything you want if you put your head into it. If you have structure, if you have to set your goals, you have to know where you're going. You have to be able to take defeat with a strong heart. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. If you win, don't go over publicize it. Just take strength from it and go on. This life is your life. This life is for you. Enjoy it and be a blessing in somebody else's life. In Egypt, in the pharaohs, they had a say when people die and going through the gates, they ask 2 questions. Have you had joy in your life? And have you brought joy to other people's life?
I love that.
These are the 2. Have you had joy? Have you brought joy? And I try to look for the people that will bring me joy, and I can make sure they have joy in my relationship with them. And I treat it the same thing with everybody that walks in. And those that cannot bring me joy in my life, and there are a lot of drama, will stay respectfully good friends, but they become one of the pennies. If they're strong, solid people that I can call at any time and call on them, like, hey, whenever you need me, you can call me. I don't care what time it is. I'm here. And I can do the same thing with them in their joy or in their hard time. Those are the ones I want to keep in my life. So that is, I mean, you can open a business, but you have interviewed a lot of successful business people, and they can tell you relationships. I believe that one thing you know is that one thing you get away from this life is relationship. A confident, strong, faithful, and comfortable relationship, and that's important. That's important. You surround yourself with like-minded people. In fact, when I bought the house I'm in right now, I came to ask you, Jimmy, this house is 3 times the price of the last house I bought, and buying it would be stressful on me. And what you said is, the people you mingle with, your income will average the income of the 5 people you mingle with. And at that time, I've read that. I've never had being an immigrant, always worried about finances. I'm not always on the safe side. I like to take risks, but my risks are calculated. I said, you know what, we'll do it. I talked to my wife, and we'll go for it. And we definitely moved into an amazing place. A lot of amazing people. Alan is one of them. And it's true. Your mentality is a completely different shift. It's a total paradigm shift. and what you do, how you do things in life, and how you achieve them. And that just grows with you, and you end up meeting different people, and you surround yourself with more successful people, and that changes. That changes dramatically. And honestly, a year and a half into owning the house, we're able to pay it off. That's just, it works.
Yeah, I have a friend that taught me one time, you have to almost be sponsored into the next level to level up with your relationships in life. You're just meeting more successful people, people that are higher driven and trying to do more things with their life. And any opportunity that you can to surround yourself with more of those people, I think that's what I was trying to tell you that day, was the opportunity to move and be in the same neighborhood as these different people that live here. You're going to level up and have the opportunity. I knew you, being a very giving, very heartfelt person, was going to be able to connect with those neighbors and be able to level up in your life in every way.
And that's why I said when you get sponsored into the next level and you're being helped, you must give. You can't only take. So as I change my lifestyle and I change the way I do things, and I see people are trying to go in the same route, I must give and I must help. So that's what I've been living by. That this is one of the things about, if you're starting a new business, go for it, man. Go for it. Do it the right way, and be sincere about it, and you'll see.
So a couple things. I know, growing up Muslim, I think people, especially here in Utah, we don't have a full understanding. So give us a little bit of, what was that like? What is that religion? What are you doing as a kid? What are some of the things that are instilled in you that are different maybe now than what you did as a kid?
The religion has a lot of benefits. It was a very structured religion. You had to pray 5 times a day. Mostly, it would be better if you do it at the mosque. You have the Friday prayer, which is you go in as a community together in one of the close mosques and pray in the open outside, because so many of you, the mosque cannot take that many people, so it spills out to the streets. It was a very like major religion, very loving, very giving, and very structured.
So where do the problems come in with the way Muslims are perceived in the United States then? Why is there this perception? I guess obviously
I can tell you
there's radical Islam and all that, but where do the problems come in, and how does somebody like you balance all that?
Definitely perception is a big thing, and that's the biggest trouble that we have, because what you see in the movies is Muslims are crazy. That's what you see. Where, honest to goodness, crazy are in every religion. Haven't been in all of them. There's crazy in everyone. Once you go to the extremism and you forget the forgiveness, and you forget the love, and you forget that we're all human, and I mean, to me, one of the biggest things that shaped my view of all religion is God is not a monster. He is not going to go to somebody and say, you are the best, but you are not. He's not a monster. I think that the man's hand has a lot to do with the religions. Us as a human, we love to feel superior and exclusive and belong and approved. And that's what creates the conflict in our life. If you take away all the pride out of being superior of some sort, you will have a lot less problems between religions. So that's really what makes it.
Well, one thing that you did really well when you came over here from Egypt that I think is, I don't know, I'm just trying to think like out loud, what are some of the issues that I perceive other people having with Muslims? I think is they don't integrate very well into the society here in the United States. They don't try to. So is that something that you cognizantly did, or was that just by coincidence that you happened to integrate better with other Americans?
I love adventures, as you know, and I wanted to try everything. I wanted to see what everything will lead to. I had a head on my shoulder. I can use it, and I know what's right and what's wrong. But I also did what I wanted to experiment with. I think the best thing to do is to jump all in. You go to a new country, you jump all in.
Totally agree.
Yeah, you just try everything they're trying, enjoy life, see what works, see what doesn't. Not everything will work for you. Not everything worked for me. There's quite a few things that kicked back in my face so hard, and it was a good lesson. Because I did not mesh with who I am. But my advice would be, if you come into this country and you want to love it, you have to simulate. You have to know You have to learn. You have to understand. You have to adapt. You don't have to be a chameleon. You don't have to change who you are, but you do have to see the way of life. A lot of people come here from different places and think they have control over everything would work here as it worked in their country. That's not going to happen. The culture is so deeply rooted here that you need to know what would work for you and what would work for the people around you. And don't be so hard-headed. Be open to change. Be open to adapt.
Yeah, I think that's some of the best advice I've heard, and that's probably why you've been able to adapt so well here in the States.
It's a beautiful country. You can't go wrong with this one. I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, I read all the news. I see what people say about the United States. I saw how the Middle East perceived the States before the Gulf War and after the Gulf War. I mean, the view completely changed. Before the Gulf War, American tourists everybody loved them. After the Gulf War, that changed. It was perception. Just because there was a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, and it changed from helping to people's perception that they're not helping, and there's a benefit when there really wasn't. But so things change and perception changed, but this country has not. This country has been solid. Has been solid in its promises. Doesn't matter who you are, you come in at any time. You can move into this country today, and if you decided to make something out of yourself, you will.
That's a beautiful statement. So to kind of wrap things up, you have your kids now, you're raising them here in Utah and in the United States. What are a couple of the lessons that you try to instill, or a couple of the traits that you try to instill in them? What would you want them to grow up to be? What are the main things that are important to you?
So I have 5 boys, and what I try to teach them is, I try to teach them work ethic. I try to teach them love for each other. It's important to me that they have harmony. I didn't have any brothers growing up, and I'll go at length to do anything to have a brother, and that's why the ones like you and Chip in my life, and they're brothers to me. To me, I cherish that relationship, and I want them to be honest. I want them to have integrity in dealing with people. I want people how to accomplish things, how to have their 4 quarters, how to have their best friends. I want them to understand that this country is great, God is great, you can accomplish all things. Anything you put your mind to, you can do. And my boys, I have 2 of them that speak Mandarin fluently. I have the others that are doing amazing in the school. And they're just, it's education. You will not get better education in any other country. I would debate that with anyone. There are plenty of institutes here you can send your kids to have an amazing education. And with that comes a lot. It's a lot of smart people. It's a lot of good things.
I think that's fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure for me. I can't wait to go to Egypt. We'll have to do a follow-up to this interview after we get back.
I would love it.
Yeah, appreciate you, homie.
Thanks, brother.